Hi everybody, so I'm back again with another book review, and this time I'm going to be reviewing the Basics of Corset Building, and this is the 2008 edition. It's written by Linda Sparks, who is the owner of the company Farthingale. So she has a store in Toronto and then another one in LA. And this book is very thin. You can see how thin it is. It's only 77 pages long, but don't let that fool you because this book is very dense. It is chock full of information. There's no froth or no nonsense in here. It's just basically instructions. So in the foreword, Linda jumps right in by saying that basically anybody who can sew a straight line can sew a corset. She's really friendly, but she's also no nonsense, and she does a good job of saying, yeah, there's a lot of fine detail that goes into making a corset. There are a lot of steps. You have to practice a lot of patience, but it's really not that scary. So if you're willing to put in the work, then anybody can basically make a corset. So going back to the table of contents of this book, section 1 focuses on what you'll need to make a corset. So she dedicates a chapter to each of tools involved, like awls and bone cutters and pliers, etc. I believe you can preview that particular chapter on Google Books. There's also a chapter on textiles, that being the strength fabric, the fashion fabric, waist tape, etc. And there's also a chapter on the supports and hardware of a corset. So that would be the busk, the bones, the tips for the bones, the grommets, etc. And a lot of these materials she mentions in this book, you can also buy directly on her online store. Section 2 tells you in detail all the steps that you need to put a corset together. So basically how to tip your bones, both steel and plastic bones, how to insert a busk, how to insert grommets, working with lacing tape, and tipping your laces, applying binding, etc. Section 3 goes into techniques for the construction. So she teaches you 5 different ways to make a corset. So there's a single layer corset, both alterable and not alterable. Double layer corset, that's alterable and not alterable. And then the 5th one is basically how to make a corset with a pretty fashion layer on the outside. So the last section, section 4, she goes into customizing commercial patterns, particularly for Simplicity 9769 and the Laughing Moon door pattern. So she shows you how to fit the mock-ups and alter the corset to fit your body, and she also provides some inspirational photos actually. She makes those particular corset patterns out of different materials, so you can see how it drastically changes the overall look. There is also a glossary of terms at the back of the book. Throughout the book, if you see any words that are bolded, then those are the words that are entered in the glossary at the back, so that's really nice. So moving on to the actual review for this book. When I was initially going to buy this book and I saw a lot of the reviews online, a lot of people were complaining about a lot of grammatical mistakes in this book. When I was reading through it, yes, there were a couple of errors that popped out at me, but honestly, this is not supposed to be a literary masterpiece, it's an instruction manual. It's still perfectly clear and readable, and the content is good, so don't focus on the grammar. In terms of illustrations, this book has a bazillion pictures in here. I actually don't think there's one page on here that doesn't have at least one picture, which is awesome for beginners, especially if you're a visual learner. And there are both photographs in grayscale and black and white simplified diagrams in here. I think if they were to make a later edition of this book, they would do better to have more photographs and fewer simplified diagrams, just because people who have never seen a woven bone versus a flat steel bone before, they would understand it better if they had photographs in here instead of just hash diagrams of woven plastic boning, because diagrams, you can't really take that to the fabric store and compare it. So also, if they were to have more photographs in here, it would be awesome to have color photographs. I don't know about anybody else, but I understand depth and perception a lot better in color photographs as opposed to just grayscale photographs, and it would help other people, especially beginners, be able to keep track of the overside and the underside of fabrics more easily. So I'm going to repeat myself. This book is only 77 pages long, so it's very concise, but it's also very dense. I kind of like it, and I kind of, well, I'm sitting on the fence about whether or not I like how concise this book is. One thing I can say is that the title is not misleading in any way. It is the Basics of Corset Building, and it is a handbook for beginners. So if you have never made a corset before, this book is a fantastic resource for you. It is very clear, it has very nice instructions in it. If you have made corsets before, you may find this book to be a little bit underwhelming. A lot of the techniques that are featured in this book, such as using an awl, punching holes, inserting a busk, applying grommets, applying binding along the edges of the corset, I have learned just by following the instructions that came in the 9769 Simplicity pattern. So the photo of the corset on the cover of this book, you can see it's absolutely gorgeous. But a lot of the things on this picture, like the diagonal boning placements and cording, and, well, actually there's no cording on here, but the flossing, they don't actually go into those more advanced techniques in this book. So if they were to make a later edition, then maybe that would be like another chapter they would add on, or maybe they can write a second book about more advanced techniques in corset making, and that would be awesome. So I bought this book about 4 months ago, so it was already after the point that I started making my own corsets from scratch and started making YouTube videos about corset making and everything. I did learn a few new things in here, and it's helped me refine a couple of my techniques, but was it enough to justify the $20 for the book? I don't know, but I'm happy with my purchase anyway, just because I know that I am supporting the corset making community. So I think overall, if you're a beginner corset maker and you're a little bit intimidated by making a corset, then this would be a good resource for you. And if anybody has any other things to add to this review, please feel free to post them in a comment below or send a video response. So I will talk to you later. Bye!
Thank you so much for watching. If you're interested in seeing any of my other corset book reviews, you can check them out here. And if you're interested in any other corset videos, don't forget to subscribe.